Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this Blitz chess postmortem video. This is a postmortem of my Blitz chess game number 98, where I played e4 and my opponent played the Philidor defense. So let's take a look at the first few moves here. This is the Philidor, and the most common responses are d4, which I played, and bishop c4. And he plays e takes d4, which appears to be the most common move these days. It used to be knight f6 or knight d7 was more frequently played when the way I remember it, but that seems to be the modern way to play it. So you take, and it makes sense to take back with the knight or the queen. If you take back with the queen, you can get hit right away with the with knight c6. I suppose you could move the queen out to a4 and try and pin the knight. Maybe get a little something that way, but knight takes d4 seems fine. Just got a strong presence in the center. And then he plays bishop e7, a very rare move here. Knight f6 is a normal way of continuing, just going after the pawn, or g6, so you can develop the bishop on the same diagonal. He has this idea of bishop e7 to f6, which, if you think about it, it's the same as playing g6 and bishop g7 as far as getting on this diagonal. Although on f6 it blocks one of the squares the knight might want to go to, so a slightly less flexible setup, but not any slower. I was thinking it was a bit slower, but it's no slower than playing g6 and moving the bishop, really. And then we're out of the opening book after that. I could have played knight c3 here without much, well, you know, that's too small a number to draw conclusions from. It looks like the computer thinks white's doing fine here, and you would expect, just looking at it, that white's doing okay. What's interesting in this game is we stay very close to even as we through almost all of the game. And there was one spot here, so let's look first of all at this one. When I play my knight to e2, yeah, just computer does not like that move at all because of knight e5, bishop b3, and then c5. It looks like black starts to get some activity, so I should have thought about that. Now it says knight takes c6 is the top choice. If you let it think about it for a while, it comes up with other suggestions like a3 and h3. So I take it that the computer doesn't really have a great plan here. Let's take a look at this a3 idea, for example. a3, and okay, it was thinking about taking, and then it changed its mind. There are rook moves, but suppose black goes in for exchanges. Knight takes, bishop takes, bishop d4, bishop g4, say bishop takes, queen takes. And, you know, white has a very small advantage. Knight c6, queen e3. Not so different than what happened in the game, actually. So after knight ce2, he has a chance to play this move knight e5, and he doesn't play it. He does the exchanges instead. And we get, like I said, we get into a position similar to what that computer line led us to. So with a slight edge for white, but not a whole lot. And here, it thinks I should just go ahead and play. Black just played bishop e6, challenging my bishop on c4 here, and it thinks I should just go ahead and take that bishop. C takes, f takes. Gives him an open f file, but maybe this e-pawn is weak somehow. Yeah, I'm not sure why that's so great for white. But what I played is not particularly good either, because now he gets the knight e5 move in. And, well, I get a little bit of a center here, and I have a slight advantage. But as you say, this rating, as you can see, the evaluation has not changed much through this whole game. It's stayed within, you know, a tenth of a point or two of even. So it didn't like this f5 move, though. And thinks I could play queen b3 check here, and then e5, but I went ahead and played e5 right away, which if he plays bishop e6, I guess to block the check. But he took, and now this is a slight edge for white. Now I've got a protected passed pawn, so he didn't have to play that way. This move f4 here was f5 was probably a mistake, but this slight edge doesn't last very long. A couple moves later, he plays this move, And I spot this clever tactic, which you hear me talking about during the game, of knight takes pawn, and his queen is loose here. Nobody's defending it, so he has to do something about that because my queen is attacking it. So he doesn't have time to take the knight. So this basically picks up a pawn. Knight takes pawn, queen takes queen, knight takes queen. But if you watch the game, you'll see there's a flaw in this logic, this tactical logic. And what was a strong advantage for white here suddenly became a even game again. So it says I should continue, say, rook d c1. That was the other move I was thinking about. Thought about a few moves there. Queen b6. Not that. Queen b6. And queen b3 check. And if the queen takes queen, I can take back with the knight because that unpins. What else could he do? He could play rook f7, and then I could take his queen and mess up his pawn. So let's say queen takes queen, knight takes queen. And, I have this advantage of the passed pawn for the endgame, and I've got the queens off. So this would be a good way to play for me. Instead, I went for this tactic. And if you didn't see the game, you might want to, or if you don't remember, you might want to figure out at this point what's wrong with that tactic. Knight takes pawn, queen takes queen, knight takes knight. Do you see what happens next? What happens next is it's black's turn to move, and he plays rook takes pawn, and so I don't gain a pawn after all. It's just a trade of pawns, and it leaves me with a isolated e pawn here. So anyway, that's what happened. I grabbed the pawn because of this tactic, and then I lose the f pawn, and so now the game is dead even once again. So that was the slight divergence from equality. That we didn't play this part the best. His rook should probably, he should probably just take the knight. That's probably the simplest one, and or move the rook to c4. It's an idea. What's wrong with rook back to f7? Oh, then e6. Okay, so I get something on the pawn. He can't just be too casual. But bishop takes d5 is probably the best way to play. So when he plays here, he plays rook to e4, attacking the pawn from behind. But that's not particularly good because I have this knight e7 check. So I can mess up his pawns, and then I can defend my pawn this way. Hold on just a second, though. It thinks I should play rook d7. Yeah, I should give up my weak pawn instead of trying to hold on to it and try to attack his weak pawns. And that would give me a slight edge. So this move here was a bit of a mistake. And now the game is in this range of just about even once again. And it stays this way even as I make a mistake. You see, I'm just giving up that pawn for nothing, but you see the evaluation doesn't even change because it turns out that that pawn is just not that significant. And we just play out the rest of the moves. We go around gobbling up each other's pawns. Hang on a second, we were about here. I can't trade rooks, I don't think. I think that would be a losing move for me. I have to keep the rooks on if I want to hope for a draw here. But even though he seems to be gobbling up all my pawns, I have threats against his king and his pawns too. And the evaluation is just very close to even. So no side is going to win here with correct play. And after a repetition of moves here, my opponent offered a draw, and I accepted it. So the game ended that way. So I guess I was kind of curious if there was any way to win that rook endgame, but there was no point in here where the computer found any significant improvement. So kind of interesting. I guess we played the endgame okay. Just a few mistakes in the middle game where I gave away the slight advantage that I had managed to accumulate. And the game ended in a draw. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Leave any comments you have in the section below, and I will see you again later. Bye.